Did the 49 Afrikaners lie to get into America? The truth behind South Africa's most controversial refugees. Imagine fleeing your country, landing in America, and being called both victims and frauds. In 2025, 49 white South Africans, mainly Afrikaners, arrived in the United States under refugee status, claiming they faced racial persecution and so-called white genocide in South Africa. But did they lie on their asylum applications? Where are they now? And why do other Afrikaners call them an embarrassment? Let's break it down. So who were the 49 Afrikaners? In May 2025, then President Trump's team arranged for 49 Afrikaners to be flown to the U.S. They claimed they faced land expropriation without compensation, violence and murder on farms, and a government unwilling to protect them. U.S. officials granted them expedited refugee status, an extremely rare move because refugees usually need to show targeted persecution based on race, religion, or political beliefs. This wasn't the first time white South Africans had tried to seek asylum abroad. In previous years, smaller groups had quietly applied, and most had been rejected. The white genocide claim, truth versus myth. The 49 Afrikaners repeated the white genocide narrative, the claim that white South Africans, especially farmers, were being systematically exterminated. This story was pushed by some far-right media in the US and in Europe, but it's been debunked by human rights groups, rejected by Amnesty International, the United Nations, and South Africa's own courts. Yes, farm murders happen, but statistics show victims are both black and white. Crime in South Africa is tragically high for everyone. No evidence of state-sponsored plans to wipe out whites. So, did they lie on their refugee applications? Here's where it gets controversial. Legally, a refugee must prove a well-founded fear of persecution because of race, religion, or something similar. The 49 Afrikaners claimed persecution purely because they were white. But according to multiple reports, the South African government isn't targeting whites. Whites on average remain wealthier and safer than most black citizens. And land expropriation laws hadn't even passed when they left. So many critics, including South African lawyers and politicians, say they exaggerated or fabricated the threat to qualify. However, proving deliberate fraud is hard. They may have genuinely believed their lives were at risk, even if the evidence didn't support it. So how did other Afrikaners react?
To the 50 Afrikaners who fled to the US, calling themselves refugees, you are not refugees. You are just a case study of white flight dressed up as martyrdom. You're not escaping violence, you're escaping equality. South Africa didn't chase you away. You ran. Yes, South Africa is one of the most violent countries in the world. Yes, brutality exists. But let's be honest, violence affects all communities, not just white farmers. Black, colored, Indian, and yes, white people are all targets of a national crime crisis. What we have is a breakdown in safety, not a white genocide. This is not ethnic cleansing, it's criminal collapse, and running to the US won't fix it. You are part of a 7% minority, but somehow still manages to control over 70% of the wealth. That is not persecution, that's privilege on a guilt trip. And let's be real, if we tried to relocate just half of the Afrikaans population, it would take decades, billions in logistics, and you'd still end up culturally homeless in a country that don't want your apartheid baggage. You're not brave, you're not victims. You're scared of a world where you don't get to be in charge, and that makes the rest of the Afrikaans community cringe because you make us look weak. South Africa is broken, and it's our problem to solve. So if you don't have the spine to do so, stay gone.
Interestingly, most Afrikaner organizations rejected what these 49 did. Groups like AfriForum and Solidarity publicly condemned these asylum claims. They said it embarrassed the broader community and played into racist stereotypes. Why? Because it suggested all Afrikaners live in constant fear, and it ignored real national issues affecting everyone, especially the black poor majority. So where are they now? As of now, the 49 Afrikaners remain in the United States. They have settled in conservative towns sympathetic to their stories. Some work in construction, some work on farms, and some work in small businesses. A few quietly returned to South Africa, but most didn't, because that would risk them losing their refugee status. Interestingly, the big dream of building Afrikaner colonies in Texas or Montana never happened. So why didn't most return? Legally returning to South Africa after claiming refugee status would void their asylum. You can't claim you fled persecution, then visit home safely. U.S. authorities would see that as proof you no longer fear for your life. So most chose to stay, even if life in the U.S. was harder than they expected. So what does this tell us? This strange episode shows that fear and politics can bend the truth. Narratives of white genocide can travel faster than facts. Even within one community, Afrikaners, there are deep divides about truth, fear, and belonging. So did they lie? Some likely believed they were in danger. Others may have played up the story. But in the end, it's a lesson in how powerful and dangerous fear-based narratives can be. So what do you think? Were the 49 Afrikaners victims, opportunists, or both? Does white genocide exist? Or is it just fear? Please share your thoughts below. Also, like, subscribe, and join us for more deep dives into untold African stories.